Here with reaction to that, former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe. You know, we're now over 7.5 million illegal immigrants that Joe Biden has been aiding and abetting into this country. By the end of the year, that'll be 8 million. We know that we have caught some people on the terror watch list. We also know in the last week, 19 Iranians and 17 Syrians were trying to get into this country. How they got to the border, who paid for their trip to the border, what their intentions are, I just have to believe none of them were good. I contend, and you tell me if you think I'm off base, that of that 8 million unvetted illegal immigrant, you know, that Joe Biden's allowed into this country unvetted, I guarantee there are terror cells that he has allowed in. Is that rational thinking on my part? And how do we possibly weed them out and find them now that they are in here?
It's unfortunate. Unfortunately, it is rational thought there, Sean. I mean, nothing underscores the lunacy of the Biden administration's approach to Iran than this. 4 weeks ago, Joe Biden sent his top national security official, his advisor, Jake Sullivan, out to brag publicly about how great things were in the Middle East, how quiet it was, how they didn't have to spend any time in the Middle East. And now 4 weeks later, Joe Biden has to send out his top law enforcement official, the FBI director, to warn Americans that Hamas and Hezbollah may be bringing the same atrocities committed against Israelis and Americans over there to our homeland. And, you know, that warning, Sean, unfortunately is coming too late. As Trace Armstrong just pointed out, or Gallagher just pointed out, this operation has been planned by Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran for the better part of a year. They would have already sent their bad actors here. They would have likely taken advantage of an open border under the Biden administration. And as you talked about, Sean, remember, there's a 7,000% increase in suspects from the terror watch list apprehended in the Biden administration versus the Trump administration. And they are coming from countries like Syria, Lebanon, Iran, Yemen. And, you know, so to think that they're not already here, I think really doesn't make much sense. And the worst part of it, Sean, is 4 months ago, you heard Joe Biden's Homeland Security Secretary, Mayorkas, under testimony and questioning from Jim Jordan. He was asked, those terror watch suspects that were apprehended, have they been released into the country? And his answer under oath was, I don't know. We don't know where they are. It just really underscores the idiocy of how they have approached this problem.
Let's say that everybody is reporting and everybody is correct in anticipating that the ground war in Gaza is going to begin. The first thing I would predict is that Hezbollah in the north, they will accelerate their attacks into Israel. They'll be firing more missiles. I would expect that the Israelis will be prepared for that part of it. Here's where things become, we enter a zone where nobody knows what could happen. The Iranians themselves have been threatening to get involved directly. Now, if they have a two-front war, Gaza in the south, Lebanon, Hezbollah in the north, and Iran gets involved, I would argue, John Ratcliffe, and you would know better than me, that at that point, all bets are off. At that point, you know, Israel will have to do whatever is necessary to survive. And if pushed against the wall, that could send the entire region into conflict, in my view, and it could just be a head-on battle against Iran. And if that happens, I would bet on Israel, because I don't think there's any option that would be off the table. Is that a possibility?
It's a very likely possibility. I mean, you're right, Sean. I mean, actually, we don't even know, just with respect to what Hezbollah can do from the north with 75,000 precision-guided munitions, whether they can overwhelm the Iron Dome even without Iran engaging. And, you know, Sean, you've pointed out some of the things that the Biden administration has done with, you know, moving the Gerald Ford class and Eisenhower strike groups into the Eastern Mediterranean, things in the last 2.5 weeks that are good for Israel. But they've spent 2.5 years helping Iran, building Iran, enriching Iran, emboldening Iran. These things weren't happening, Sean, because they couldn't happen in the Trump administration. Iran was broke, and it was the reversal of the policies of the Trump administration that has enriched Iran, and there's a direct and proximate cause to these events, to those policies that have been taking place. And you're right, all bets are off. No one knows whether Israel is in a position to be able to defend against these threats right now.
Yeah, scary times. John Ratcliffe, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.